Imagine a car so small, it could be crushed by a pickup truck, or so weird. People thought it came from outer space, or so dangerous. It was literally banned from American roads. These aren't just cars, they're machines that scared America. Banned, rejected, forgotten. Today, we bring them back. Number 4, Tatra 603, the communist car America didn't want on its roads. What happens when a bizarre rear-engine car from communist Czechoslovakia tries to roll into the land of Cadillacs and Corvettes? Enter the Tatra 603, a car so strange, so un-American in design and ideology, that it was practically blacklisted in the United States. Let's break it down. Built behind the Iron Curtain, the Tatra 603 was produced between 1956 and 1967, 1975 for one special group, Communist Party elites. You couldn't just go and buy one. This was a car reserved for government officials, the Eastern Bloc's answer to Western luxury. But it wasn't just about politics. The design alone made Americans uncomfortable. A massive rear-engine V8, a weird spaceship-like front with triple headlights, huge rear fins and a fastback body that screamed sci-fi experiment. This wasn't a car. It was an alien on wheels. Why was it banned or avoided in America? The rear-mounted air-cooled V8 made handling unpredictable at high speeds. Weight distribution was strange. The front was light and the rear was heavy. In sudden turns, the back could swing around dangerously. U.S. safety testers didn't like that one bit. Tatra never conformed to U.S. safety or emissions regulations, making it ineligible for road use. No seatbelts, no crash tests, and a very smoky engine. That was a big no from U.S. authorities. The Tatra 603 was incredibly advanced for its time. It had aerodynamic styling, independent suspension, and air cooling decades before it was cool. And while it never made it to American driveways, it definitely made it into car legend. Number 3, DKW Auto Union 1000, the little German car that scared America. It looked innocent, compact, cute, and quirky, like a car from a 1950s postcard. But behind the tiny body of the DKW Auto Union 1000 was something that made American drivers cringe and eventually turned regulators away. So, what was it about this German machine that the US just couldn't handle? Let's find out. What was the DKW Auto Union 1000? Built between 1958 and 1967-1963, this was Germany's first mass-produced car with front-wheel drive, long before it became the norm. It had a lightweight body, stylish curves, and space for 4. Sounds great, right? Well, then came the twist. It had a 3-cylinder, 2-stroke engine. Yes, like a lawnmower or a chainsaw. Instead of the smooth hum of a Ford V8, this thing buzzed, smoked, and smelled like burning oil. You had to mix oil into the fuel manually, and it left a trail of blue smoke wherever it went. Americans weren't ready for that. Why was it banned or rejected in the US? The 2-stroke engine was highly polluting. It burned oil with the fuel and spewed out visible smoke, even when it was brand new. When America's emission standards tightened in the 1960s, this car was essentially outlawed. Engine reliability. The 2-stroke design required precise oil-fuel mixing. Get it wrong, and you'd blow the engine. Many American buyers weren't used to such delicate maintenance, and engines started dying early. Poor performance in U.S. conditions. With only around 44 horsepower, the DKW struggled on long highways. Uphill, it wheezed. At high speeds, it screamed. Americans wanted power, and this little car just couldn't deliver it. It was one of the most innovative cars of its time. Front-wheel drive, lightweight construction, it was way ahead of many American brands. Number 2, Gaga Mobile T300, the tiny German car that terrified American roads. And it was so small, meet the Gaga Mobile T300, a German microcar from the 1950s that made Americans laugh, worry, and back away slowly. So, why was this cartoon-sized car banned or avoided in the United States? Let's take a closer look, if you can see it without a magnifying glass. What was the Gaga Mobile T300? Released in 1955 by Hans Glas GmbH, the T300 was part of the post-war European microcar boom. A time when gas was expensive, roads were narrow, and full-size cars were out of reach for most people. It had a two-stroke, 300cc engine, rear-wheel drive, and could barely hit 50 miles per hour, 80 kilometers per hour, downhill with a tailwind. It was designed for cities like Munich, not Manhattan. Why was it banned or rejected in America? It was too small to be safe. At just over 10 feet long, 3 meters, and weighing around 880 pounds, 400 kilograms, the Gaga Mobile was smaller than some Harley-Davidson motorcycles. In a land of Buicks and Cadillacs, this car was a moving target. One crash with a 1957 Chevy? Game over. It failed safety standards. As U.S. highway systems expanded, cars had to meet crash regulations, seatbelt laws, and structural integrity. The Gaga Mobile had no crumple zones, no real bumper protection, and in some cases, no seatbelts at all. With only 15 horsepower, the T300 took around 30 seconds to reach 50 miles per hour. And that was its top speed. Merging onto American highways was like a turtle trying to join a stampede. Dangerous, slow, and panic-inducing. So what scared Americans the most? Simply put, this didn't look or behave like a real car. It looked like a clown car from a circus or something you'd find in a child's amusement park. People didn't trust it. Some even called it a death trap. But here's the fun part. The Gaga Mobile was actually cleverly engineered, with an electric pre-selector gearbox, unheard of in cheap cars at the time. Number 1, BMW Eetta, the bubble car. That scared American drivers. It looked like an egg on wheels. It had just one door, in the front, and when you saw it on the street, you'd swear it came from a cartoon. This was the BMW Eetta, the most famous bubble car in history. But while it became an icon in post-war Europe, in the United States, the Eetta was banned, feared, and mocked. Let's dive into why. What was the BMW Eetta? Originally designed by an Italian company, Esso, and later licensed by BMW in Germany, the Eetta was built to solve one problem: transportation for the masses in a fuel-starved world. A single-cylinder, 247 cubic centimeter engine, a top speed of 50 miles per hour, 80 kilometers per hour, and just one front door, which opened along with the steering wheel. Yes, the entire dashboard swung out with the door. Americans weren't ready for that. Why was the Eetta banned or rejected in the US? Serious safety concerns. In Europe, the Eetta was a clever city car. In America, it was a rolling death trap. The only way in or out was through the front, so if the car crashed, you could be trapped inside with no escape. There were no side doors, no crumple zones, no real safety features. By the late 1950s, US safety standards began tightening. The Eetta's paper-thin construction and minimal structural support simply couldn't pass. The thought of merging one onto an American freeway full of Buicks and Chevys was terrifying. But here's the twist. The Eetta was actually BMW's savior. After World War II, BMW was nearly bankrupt. The Eetta sold over 160,000 units, giving BMW enough money to survive, and eventually build legends like the M3 and 7 series. It got 100 miles per gallon, making it one of the most fuel-efficient cars ever built. Today, the BMW Eetta is a collector's dream and a symbol of bold, post-war innovation. It may have been banned, ridiculed, and feared in America, but it changed car history forever.